Till 10 o'clock this evening. We've got a busy show coming up. There's more live Premier League, a couple of live games. We'll keep an eye on those across the evening. Arsenal in Europa League action as well. We will hear from Nathan Collins after 8 o'clock. Our Republic of Ireland and Wolves centre-back, 21 years of age, destined for the big time if he's not already there. Future Ireland captain in the making. We will talk to him just after 8 o'clock about what's been a difficult start to the season for him, particularly with Wolves struggling at the bottom of the Premier League table. We'll hear from John Giles at 7:30. A lot to talk about. Liverpool Manchester City. When I spoke to John earlier, he said, I want to talk about the big game last weekend. Liverpool Manchester City. Feels like it was about 3 months ago at this stage. But he's going to talk about that. And also on the breaking news that Cristiano Ronaldo has been dropped from the Manchester United squad for this weekend's game against Chelsea. He's going to be told to train with the kids because he refused to come on last night against Tottenham. I'm sure everybody saw the footage as it was happening in the last few minutes of Cristiano Ronaldo walking down the tunnel. Went straight from the tunnel. So there's sort of been a drip feed of information of just how bad this was from Cristiano Ronaldo as the day has gone on. At first it was, well, he just walked down the tunnel and left early, which is unacceptable and feels a little bit unprecedented. Then it turned out he'd actually just picked up his gear and walked straight out of the stadium before the match had even finished. So he was gone. Ironically, the word out of Old Trafford is the other players didn't notice he wasn't there when they were celebrating in the dressing room after beating Spurs. And then today, it emerged that he actually refused to come on. So the story was, and everyone assumed, he was annoyed that he wasn't being brought on, and that's why he left. But actually, Erik ten Hag had tried to bring Cristiano Ronaldo on in the closing stages. Ronaldo went into a huff, said, no thanks, and just stormed out of the ground. And in the last half an hour, Manchester United have released a statement and they've said that Cristiano Ronaldo will not be part of the squad for the game against Chelsea. So decisive action from Erik ten Hag. Mick McCarthy's in studio. Richie McCormack is with us as well. Good evening, Richie. Richie? Hello, Richie.
Richie's in shock.
He's done a Ronaldo on it.
At the Ronaldo
just
story.
Not coming on tonight. Nah, I'm done.
He's Carlos Tevez, this.
No, he's gone.
We don't have Richie. We've been given the old throat slit of doom from Stephen in the box there. Yeah, look, this is a fascinating story. Funnily enough, for so many elements to it, Nathan, I found that the reaction in the office and in the off the ball office seems to be, I suppose the main thing seems to be that Ten Hag has done a really good job here. That he's handled this situation beautifully all the way through. He almost knew that Ronaldo would eventually snap, for want of a better word, and he retains the moral high ground. He's never undermined him. He's never made public comments about him. He's been nothing but praiseworthy, and Ronaldo has gone and shot himself in the foot, and Man United fans aren't going to accept this, and rightly so, I would say. This kind of sulking behaviour, bigger than the club, bigger than the team. And Erik ten Hag, on the back of United's best performance that I can remember in quite a long time, the timing couldn't be more perfect for him in that way either. No,
he is in a real position of strength, and I think most Manchester United supporters have become increasingly fed up with Ronaldo after that initial burst of enthusiasm, and even with all the goals he scored last season, there was a sense that he had destabilised the team and the squad. And when has this happened before? To just literally walk down the tunnel and walk out the stadium. I know he did it in pre-season.
Can I say, you know the way I'm saying that there's so many elements to this? Can I go into a really pedantic one? How does Cristiano Ronaldo grab his gear and leave Old Trafford when there's 80,000 people in the stadium and some of them are leaving early for traffic? It seems, I don't understand. I'm sure they have I don't think they've got secret tunnelways. Well, but I can't imagine him just going out into his car.
They do have a sort of secret tunnelway where you come out of the dressing room and you can go straight out those big doors. You'll often see them as they're walking in.
Into a car park.
Into a car park, which will be a private car park, and you can hop in the car and somebody will just drive him home and away you go. You've beaten the traffic because the game is still on. It's an ideal scenario.
Them not noticing him there, pretty funny. And it always did feel like Ronaldo sulking, which has been just an element of his career for so long. We were talking about it in the show during the week, actually, when talking about the game from the weekend was, it was always tolerated, I suppose, because Cristiano Ronaldo was the most important player at every club he's been at since, his second season or third season at Manchester United, until this year, really. Even last season, he was probably United's most important player, rightly or wrongly. And then suddenly now he's on the out, and that sulking is increasing as his importance gets less. And I feel like there's a part of me that, while respecting him as one of the best footballers of all time, feels that there is a comeuppance to this that has been nearly 20 years in the making.
But does this not underline his greatness and what made him great, that he can't see it? Don't raise your eyes to heaven. That he can't see it
player
from our point of view. Like, I think anybody looking at this, and as you said, Manchester United, their best performance possibly in seasons last night.
Yeah.
Why, when you've actually played the last couple of matches, when you've been involved, and you've done all right in a couple of those games, and you're probably going to see plenty of game time for a 37-year-old earning £500,000 a week, that actually you just sit there and you take it, and you know what, you're an older player, you're a leader, you go in and say, unbelievable, delighted, get behind everybody and hope you get your chance at the weekend, because there's so many matches. But instead, on that night, you decide, I'm just going to walk out, because for him in his head, he's the greatest player of all time. And it makes no sense. And I think anybody who
But
follows
does he think
football,
he's the greatest player of current time?
I think he probably does. My microphone's just gone on the blink there. Don't touch that lead again.
You might want to put your pop shield on your microphone there.
Yeah. No, are we
that's
back?
Better. That's better.
Beautiful.
My ears
Beautiful.
hurt me less now.
We're back. As anyone listening in, we're back in the old News Talk studio. It's the new News Talk studio, but we have our own studio. But it's a radio studio, so we can go very deep with our voices if we want.
Yeah, Nathan's forgotten how to use a real
I apologize.
an old school radio.
But I don't know. I suspect Cristiano Ronaldo thinks he is still, without question, the best player in that Manchester United team.
It's mad. He probably does.
Richie,
yeah.
you're with us?
Richie's
Does
back.
Cristiano Ronaldo think that he's the best player in that Manchester United team?
He probably does, yeah, but it probably shows the way, A, the arrogance of him, which is obviously going to always be there, and B, the kind of how detached from reality people at that level can become, no matter what.
That's what you need to be. Like, do you not need to be detached from
you
reality
need to
right from the very start? That actually you never suffer setbacks. You just have this insane ego and internal confidence that if you were to break it down and sit and analyse things like the rest of us, well, he wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. But actually, he's Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm the greatest.
No, you can have ego, and you can have a massive outsized ego, like players, and it's not just him, obviously. Players of his caliber often do. But there needs to be a grounding in some level of reality, and to see somebody walk out of a stadium, judging by the Ted Lasso episode where Ted walked out of the stadium was it the FA Cup final, the FA Cup semi-final? I can only imagine the adventure that Ronaldo went on to have last night, and hopefully that's been documented by a streaming service. But this kind of shows why Ferguson was right about Roy Keane ultimately. Because the consensus was, looking back, is that when Roy Keane went on his MUTV rant, is that he was shot, and his days at United were numbered anyway in terms of playing, and it was almost the humane call from Alex Ferguson to take him out back and shoot him in the head, and that's what should have happened Cristiano Ronaldo at the start of this season.
It's a bit extreme.
He should have been taken back of Old Trafford and put down, because that's what you do.
Okay,
an old horse. That is what you do with an old horse. You take them out and you put them down. He should have been put down at the start of the season, and now they have the opportunity.
Let's leave the murder metaphors.
They could have just sold him.
Do you know what though? Richie's making a good point, and I think this goes to my point about the credit that Ten Hag takes here, because maybe they should have got rid of him in the end of the season, and I don't think ultimately Ten Hag is responsible for that. I think that was more of a club thing, plus not finding a suitable buyer and so on, right? But Ferguson was the only person who, rightly or wrongly, had the power, the tenure, the experience, everything else to do what Manchester United did to Roy Keane. Especially if you listen to Roy Keane, you will say that he was treated very, very poorly by United because ultimately Ferguson decided to cut the cord, right? Ronaldo, of a similar stature there, very hard for Ten Hag to do that when he's only been there a couple of months. He hasn't done what Alex Ferguson has done. And look, he bided his time, but he has ultimately made that decision, and Cristiano Ronaldo is training with the kids at the moment, and Ten Hag has seemingly, at least for now, won that battle. That is a big move for a manager at a club that since Ferguson left, nobody has been able to get a handle on, and his brief has been to come in and take hold of that club, and he's done it. It's like I was criticising him here a month ago. I'm very impressed with him. We're 20th of October
because
here.
He didn't want Ronaldo there, and Ronaldo didn't want to be there, it seemed. But the Glazers decided they were going to keep him.
Yeah, so he had to manage that situation. And it looks like, and again, Ronaldo's out of the squad. Nobody's complaining about it. The club are backing him up. You know, there's another world in this where the club could say Ronaldo's too important to us. We're not releasing any statement about him here. He should be in the squad against Chelsea.
The various stories are starting to come out, as I'm sure they will, for the battle for hearts and minds between Cristiano Ronaldo and Erik ten Hag over the next few days. Ten Hag is aware of Ronaldo's reluctance to engage with certain members of his inner circle. Doesn't like the coaching staff. Wasn't happy with Carrington, so they made some improvements over the summer to keep Cristiano Ronaldo happy. But it seems that he's not fully convinced by Erik ten Hag or his coaching team. So this is a developing story. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure Cristiano Ronaldo will have something to say. If Ronaldo down training with the kids.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
That's a documentary in itself. Like, you know, can you imagine that? Like, it's like the young chaps turning up. Paul McShane's the manager, and in walks Ronaldo.
Get McShane on.
Yeah, he's not going to talk about it.
Let's give it a couple of weeks. What was his attitude when he just rocked up at training?
He just rocked up at training. He's there. He's going to be arm around the shoulder of the kids. See, this is the thing we don't know about Ronaldo. We see all this sulking all the time, and we see, like you said, maybe it comes from the fact that he can't handle the fact that he's not centrally involved anymore, and his ego can't handle it. But teammates have always spoke very, very well about Ronaldo. And about his leadership and so on. I wouldn't be surprised if he is helping out the kids if he's there training.
Well, there are, as part of that same story in The Guardian, it's in a few of the papers this evening, that Ronaldo has been very helpful and mentoring some of the younger players, and that's been appreciated by all around him. So even though it seems he has destroyed Harry Maguire and undermined him at every corner with other players, he has actually been of benefit. So
the Harry Maguire thing definitely is a very big asterisk on that, trying to get the captain sack so you could become the captain.
53106 is the text number at Off the Ball and any of our social channels. The Newsround is brought to you with Gillette in association with Movember Effortless Shave, Magnificent Mo. You can sign up or donate now at Movember.com. So Richie, where are we starting?
At Old Trafford, where Manchester United, as we've heard, say Cristiano Ronaldo won't be involved in Saturday's Premier League meeting with Chelsea. In a short statement this evening, the club said the rest of the squad is fully focused on that fixture. Ronaldo left the dugout and apparently Old Trafford before the end of last night's 2-0 win at home to Tottenham. The 37-year-old had been an unused sub, and the Mail reported this evening that Ronaldo refused to come on late in the game.
So this story in Mayo GAA about an incident in a game between Castlebar Mitchells and Westport, an under-17 game. It came out a couple of weeks ago. There was an incident involving a adult and obviously an under-17 player, a child on the pitch, and there was a suspension handed out. It seems like it's been overturned, but it's gone to Tusla now.
Yeah, it has. Mayo GAA say they'll continue to liaise with Connacht GAA and the GAA centrally regarding concerns raised by Castlebar Mitchells. The club has submitted a report to the GAA and to Tusla saying they have a reasonable grounds for concern relating to child abuse. It follows an incident at under-17 semi-final which resulted in an individual being dealt a 96-week ban that was appealed down to just 2 games. Mitchells say the appeal findings are, quote, not in keeping with the best interests of child welfare. They've called for the suspension of the under-17 Mayo Championship after Westport were reinstated.
Yes, there's obviously a few parts to this, Mick. Obviously, it's an extremely serious incident when it's been reported to Tusla. And what will raise eyebrows is the appealing of a ban from 96 weeks down to 2 matches.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Westport had been allowed back in. And I know people are quite uncomfortable as to what the sanction should be when an individual involved with a club, whether attacks, as it is here, a child or a referee. Should the whole club pay for that? Is it right that the team is thrown out? I feel it is.
So, yeah. Can I just say, first of all, that I don't know enough about this particular situation to, the specific story in Mayo, I think, isn't what, I don't want to comment on it too much, but I will say that there's 2 things there. I think you're right. The club, the only way we change that culture is if the club suffers, because that's the only way that people will self-police. And, people who have the club's best interest at heart will stop the type of behaviour that we're talking about from happening and becoming and remaining a part of the culture. And the other thing then is the idea of these appeals and from going from one extreme of the type of suspension that you think for what we hear has happened is a reasonable number. It's the maximum allowed. It's the one we've heard recently in Wexford and so on. down to a nothing suspension, a suspension that is almost like it's what is it? 2 weeks? Like 2 weeks isn't even, you know,
2 games.
2 games. Okay, right. Okay, yeah. So it is a small suspension, but you know that will pass. It won't be a memorable time of reflection away to think about what you've done. You know, so like that's a culture issue in the GAA as well, that we have to seriously consider, that it is too easy to reduce bans from something that is actually going to make a difference to something that is just the price of doing business for bad behaviour.
Yeah, and as Richie mentioned, Castlebar have called for the suspension of the Under-17 Championship after Westport were reinstated, which I think is, again, understandable. Like, they will have to play Westport now after an incident like that happening, which really shouldn't happen. But I'm sure there'll be lots more, and we'll get more info on that over the coming days. There is, yet again, Richie, we're probably right in the height of it now, live football every day of the week. I'm watching Arsenal here in the Europa League, a couple of Premier League matches as well.
Yeah, Arsenal can secure a place in the knockout phase of the Europa League with 2 games to spare this evening. They're into the second half at the Emirates, just past the hour mark. In fact, still goalless between themselves and PSV Eindhoven. A point for Leicester at home to Leeds tonight. We'll see them move off the foot of the Premier League table, while under pressure Steven Gerrard takes his Aston Villa sides to Fulham. Elsewhere, the Republic of Ireland under-17s have begun their European Championship qualifying campaign with a comfortable victory. They beat Armenia by 4-0 this evening in Sarpsborg. Next up for Colin O'Brien's side is a meeting with Belarus on Sunday. And Chelsea are away to Paris Saint-Germain tonight in the Women's Champions League. There's an 8 p.m. start in the French capital. Elsewhere in their group, Real Madrid are 2-0 up away to Vllaznia, and there are 11 minutes to go in that one.
Ronaldo sells shirts for now. That's why he's untouchable, says Conor Blackrock. Has that not been talked about?
Can we debunk that one?
You don't make, that's
all?
not how you make the money. Like, the deal is done with, is it Adidas make their jerseys now?
Adidas make their jerseys.
So it's not per jersey that they make their money. They get the money up front, and then Adidas make the money. Am I right in saying that, Richie? I know, I'm sure all these deals are different.
All the deals are different, yeah. But most of them are dependent on the massive upfront payments that Adidas or Nike or whomever else will generate. And I'm sure Adidas, who don't have any stake in the Cristiano Ronaldo brand, that being Nike, I believe, wouldn't care less whether or not he's there or not. They're paid their money to Manchester United. United have made their money from Adidas regardless, and they're going to sell. Like, it's Manchester United. It's hardly as if they're going to take a massive hit on jerseys just because one player isn't there. Yeah,
but the only thing, it is more nuanced than that, right? So forget about the actual jersey sales, right? That's a non-issue. Ronaldo brought a relevance of kids back to Manchester United that has been gone. Nathan, you've got, you know, young boys. Like, I'm not someone at that age, but I've talked to friends of mine. United aren't really a thing anymore with kids, or at least weren't as of a couple of years ago. I remember talking to a friend of mine. We went to the Roy Keane, Gary Neville show a couple of years, and he was saying, like, none of the kids in their kids' class support Man United. It's just not a thing. Ronaldo brought that back a little bit because
I have a Ronaldo jersey in my house.
Yeah. There you go.
Outrageous.
But that is the thing at the moment. You see a lot of Paris Saint-Germain jerseys when you walk around because of Neymar and Mbappe and Messi. Like, I don't know if you're necessarily a PSG fan. United need that. They need a marquee, and hopefully, like, I mean, I'd imagine it's going to be someone other than Ronaldo in time. But at the moment, he is the one.
But does that actually touch on maybe the bigger picture from Ronaldo's point of view here, that he is a global superstar? So yes, for Manchester United supporters, for fans of the English Premier League who watch it religiously, they will look at this and go, Ronaldo's completely out of order. It's ridiculous. He's 37. His talents are waning. He doesn't deserve to be in the team. He can't play a high-press game under Ten Hag. Whereas for 90% of the world, though, Richie, they just know Cristiano Ronaldo, the legend, the greatest player of all time. Yeah. And they dip in and out and they go, well, this guy can't be on the bench. This guy can't be a substitute. He's dead right to storm out.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, and you see it on social media, especially as wrong-headed as it might be. But as you know, if he is, and he certainly does see himself as a brand, then he's doing his own brand a massive disservice, true, and he's punishing it with his actions, because that's like sitting on the bench with an earring, showing no interest in the game, and walking off at 2 minutes.
But maybe it doesn't do his brand any damage, because maybe he's saying, I am bigger than Manchester United.
Well, ultimately, the problem with Ronaldo was that they couldn't find a suitable, as Mick mentioned there, they couldn't find a suitable buyer for him in the summer, and that plays into the ego, which is that a 37-year-old needs to have a realistic, regardless of their past achievements and accomplishments and abilities, they need to have a realistic sense of where they are in the current marketplace. And he can't command the same type of wages he's at Manchester United literally anywhere else. So that's why they've been stuck with him for 6 months, and this situation has generated itself, is because if he does see himself as a brand, he clearly doesn't know the best way to put that forward at the moment, because the brand isn't the same as what it was 10, 12 years ago when he was in his pomp at Real Madrid. It's severely diminished anyway. And this doesn't do him, or indeed, again, and I hate saying it in football terms, his brand, any favours whatsoever, because wherever he goes to next is going to be a step down, because all of the top clubs around Europe have more or less said that they've no interest in him, and no sensible one would at this stage. He's got a World Cup to prove himself, and he'll probably sabotage Portugal's chances there more than anything else. And from January onwards, like, where is he going to be? The Middle East? America? And he'll care.
I can sympathise with him, Mick. You know, I went out after work last night with the mindset of a 25-year-old, not realising I was a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, you can trick yourself into thinking, you know, you're still a young man.
You're leaving out the part where the kids arrived in absolutely no problem with today. Beaming, you would almost say. Yeah. Well, I didn't see them.
The young folk were able to arrive in for work for 7 a.m. this morning, where I cruised in around 4 o'clock.
Absolutely dying. Yeah. The young folk were fine. Of course, I was in here because some of us had to go to work when these secret shindig was happening.
Here we go. Yeah. After what he did against Ireland, he shouldn't have been taken off early in the last game. They were chances he probably would have taken. I don't know if you compare the Ireland game to a Premier League game and a year later.
Well, yeah. I suppose the point is Ronaldo on the pitch. You've always got a chance. You've always got a chance as long as Ronaldo's on pitch.
What else you got for us, Richie?
The CJ Cup ongoing. Decent enough start for Rory McIlroy. He is currently just a shot off the lead, actually, now. He's picked up another birdie. He's 5 under par with 3 to play of his opening round in South Carolina. Shane Lowry going well himself, 3 under, playing the last hole there. And Seamus Power has made a decent enough start too. He's 2 under par through his first 8 holes. There is currently a 2-way tie for the lead at the moment. Trey Mullinax and his American compatriot Gary Woodland lead there on 6 under par.
I'm surprised this isn't the top story, Richie.
In my heart it was.
I'm sure it was. Tell us. Yeah.
Keith Buckley will return as Bohemians captain next season. The midfielder has signed a 3-year contract following his year away travelling. New Bows manager Declan Devine was officially unveiled today, and he spoke to our Stephen Doyle. The interview is up online on our social channels, and Devine admits vast improvements need to be made on the pitch.
Some of the games that I've watched, we have been, let's be honest, we have been a bit soft at times. We haven't scored enough goals, conceded too many goals. But again, look, everybody gets a chance. I'm not here. The only thing I want here is people that want to be here, people that want to work hard. And if we can do that over the coming weeks, there's players here that excite me. There's players that I really want to work with. Been very unfortunate with injuries. But we got to add to the squad, bring in people that are going to drive this club on, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, that is Declan Devine. Richie, tell the nation why you love Keith Buckley so much.
He will tackle you.
Whether the ball's there or not.
Whether the ball's there. No, there's been a very tangible loss of Keith Buckley in the heart of the Bohemians midfield this season. It's a sense of drive has gone from the side, a sense of on-field leadership has gone, that sense that a game is never lost no matter what period you're in it. That's back when he returns, which is a massive thing to re-inject into a side and to know that it'll be there for 3 years as well. And as Devine mentioned there are some players obviously that are at the club on multi-year deals that will return next year too. And you would hope that with a few more additions, let's be probably honest, they can challenge again next season. But like Devine has
challenge for what, Richie?
Challenge will be back in contention for one of the cups certainly, and to try and crack that top 3 and get European football. That's got to be a realistic aim, because I don't think, looking at this league this year especially, with a good pre-season and with a good start of the season, I don't think they necessarily need to be far away from the likes of the Dundalk, who aren't where they were a couple of years ago, to St. Pat's, who've shown what they can do in terms of improvements made on the field in the past couple of years under Stephen O'Donnell and latterly Tim Clancy. Like that duo, particularly in Sligo, that's where you need to be aiming to break from. Derry and Rovers are going to be, I think, ahead of everybody for the next couple of years. But there's no reason to think that you can't be aiming for third place, certainly in the league.
Best of the rest. We get you, Richie. We get you. Listen, Arsenal just got a great goal. Granit Xhaka. volley from the edge of the area, smashed it into the ground.
Comeback player of the year. They had that in football.
They should have that. They
Yeah,
should
it's a good
have
one.
different types. They used to have that in golf, and I think then they had to get rid of it when Steve Stricker won it twice.
Yeah, it's a very American one, actually. Yeah, they were. It's in all the American professional sports, but I think that's not a bad one, actually. You know, can I just say one more thing on Ronaldo before we leave?
Here we go.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Manchester United, after years of calamity, had this brilliant performance against Spurs? Everybody's talking about how good they are. They're celebrating in the dressing room. Things look like they're finally turning, and here we are talking about the calamity of Manchester United because of one Cristiano Ronaldo and his inability to stay out of the news.
What's your point?
My point is that Ronaldo's almost could be the last vestige of the banter years of Manchester United. As soon as they ship him off in January, the worry is for non-Manchester United fans that they could be back. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, Manchester
Maybe not.
United fans.
Oh, by the way, I've had a message from somebody who would know about these things in terms of jersey sales and all that kind of thing, saying a lot of kit deals do include performance and sales clauses. So Ronaldo may be a Nike athlete, but his name shifts Adidas jerseys, ticket sales, etc. Hence why his face are on the launches and ads, etc. So most contracts are not upfront payments. Even other deals kind of include sales clauses and reaching different phases of competitions, etc., etc. So that shows us really.
He is a valuable asset for the club.
I think that's.
I think we all accepted that. I think it was just particularly on the jersey sales. I think we're done, Richie. Thank you as always.
Nice one, lads.
Mick, thank you. You'll be back in a while, I'm sure.
Thanks, lads.
Villa live tonight. We could have a full-scale Mick meltdown. Stay with us all the way till 10.
Leave me alone.